Hello, I'm Bob Redman. I've taken some time off from my YouTube channel for some health reasons. I feel this is a good time to kickstart it again. Going to call the new channel Gator Therapy, something I and we have needed for about 4 years. I will get more into my personal stuff in a later video, but let's talk about this Gasparilla Bowl game with Tulane. Bear with me as I'm going to be a little stiff talking about this stuff today. I got to get used to posting videos. But anyway, here we go. Let's talk about this game. They didn't limp into the game. These Gators, the seniors played. They held on to a lot of guys that could have transferred. They won 3 straight leading up to the game. That allowed Gator fans to really be a factor by outnumbering Tulane fans with their team winning more games than Florida did this year. Some positives on offense. Offensively, Florida put up good numbers. The Gators had 529 total yards. They had 305 passing yards. They had 224 rushing yards. That's the third most passing yards given up by the Green Wave this year when they held their conference, or when they led their conference in pass defense. It was the second most rushing yards given up for the Green Wave all year. It took the Gators a while, but they made adjustments. The score went from 6-0 at half when they couldn't get into the end zone to 16-0 after 3 quarters to 33-0 before Tulane finally got on the board. Tulane dropped into zone a lot, something they evidently didn't do a lot of this year. The zone forced turnovers and just missed plays early on. Eventually, a tight end screen here and a couple of mid-range crossers from receivers kind of open it up for Florida to make some bigger plays. Feel good for Shim DK. He's played a big role for Florida this year, although it wasn't the number one to go to guy all year. In this game, he was. He finished with 6 receptions for 96 yards and a couple of big plays. Always consistent with good hands, he deserved a game like this. Hats off to the running backs. Jaden Ball had 70 yards and 14 carries. Jacoby Jackson had 57 yards on 12 carries. KD Daniels had 57 yards and a touchdown on 5 carries. Anthony Rubio joined the action late and had 32 yards on 5 carries. 6 carries, excuse me. It's a group that's only going to get better. They're just all young. They're all so young, and they haven't played a whole lot of D1 football. So it's going to be a really substantial group before all is said and done. There are more positives offensively, but those stood out to me. There were some negatives as well. It took too long to adjust to what Tulane was giving them and likely led to 2 interceptions, with DJ Lagway still having issues reading the zone and linebackers dropping into coverage. This is something that they really should have made an adjustment or two more before they got to halftime, and it really took them till halftime to do that. Um, I felt bad for Elijah Badger, and I felt like he deserved a better ending. He had a great year as Florida's leading receiver and best big play receiver. The fact is, the Green Wave took the deep ball away and also held Badger a great deal. In his pass patterns, they were grabbing him and holding him. He still caught 2 passes for 15 yards, but he was the key for the opposition's defense, and it was a big deal that he played in the bowl game for these Gators with his draft status looming. Penalties. It was a high penalty game for Florida, who finished in the top 4 in the SEC in fewest penalties given up this year. The offense had 6 of the 9 penalties for Florida, way too many. All right, let's go to the defense. For all intents and purposes, it was a shutout. Tulane scored in the final minute, with Florida having people on the field that really never played this year in a meaningful minutes. Tulane didn't cross the 100 yards of offense mark until the fourth quarter. They ended with 194. The defensive line was especially stout. Tulane was third in the AAC in rushing offense, and Florida gave up just 69 for the game. 69 rushing yards for the entire game. Props to the boys in the middle who played without Cam Jackson and Caleb Banks in the game. Turnovers. Florida took away the ball 3 times, with interceptions from Miles Graham, Alonzo Allen, and Triquez Bridges. It is the third time in 3 games that Florida has forced at least 3 turnovers. It is also the fifth time in 7 games to force at least 3 turnovers. Florida forced just 7 turnovers all of last season. Speaking of Bridges, a portal success. He came to Florida as the third best safety taken in the portal by the Gators. All he did was lead the Gators in tackles this year with 70 and finish with 2 interceptions on the year. I really don't have negative comments about the defense except for the 3 penalties that they gave up in the game. And finally, some feel good stuff. How about Desmond Watson? He played in the game as his final game of his senior year. He had 2 memorable moments, picking up the Tulane ball carrier and just suspending him in air without tackling him, holding him up there until the refs blew the whistle. And then the first down run late in the game. The team loved every moment of that. And this leads me to Billy Napier willing to have fun and doing stuff like that. He had a rough first half of the year. Things started to right themselves about midway through. Since then, it hasn't been perfect, but they have certainly played a better brand of football. He deserves to have some fun as well as they head into the offseason. We could go on, but that's enough for now. Anyway, I should be spitting out more of these on a regular basis. Please help by subscribing to my channel and liking the video if you did so. Thank you.